Hi, I'm Danielle. Welcome to my perfume journal. This week I am resetting my tray for the upcoming week, and usually I show what was on my tray from the previous week, but I had just come back from vacation last Sunday, so I took a little break from setting up a tray for the week and I just kind of went where the wind took me every day. So this week I am going back to my lovely little ritual of setting up my tray. So first up on the tray is a perfume that I included in a recent tag video as one of my perfume regrets, and it is Perdizione from Nobile 1942. So you may be wondering, why is this on my tray if it is one of my perfume regrets? And that is a good wondering to have. So this weekend, I reconnected with a friend I made over on Instagram before I dumped it. Her name is Esther, and her Instagram is called Esther's Choice. Her photographs are absolutely incredibly beautiful, and her taste in perfume is impeccable. Anyway, she left me a comment here on that tag video, and she shared with me all of the reasons why she loves Perdizione, and it got me to thinking, because one of the things that I really love about the fragrance community is hearing why people love a perfume that I might not personally prefer, and also hearing about why people don't love a perfume that I adore. And so after reading her comment, I thought, I would really like to now revisit this perfume through Esther's nose, so to speak. I want to see if I pick up on all of the beautiful things she said about this fragrance. And honestly, there have been so many times that I have almost given up on a perfume, only to find like in a single moment that I have fallen in love with it. So Perdizione is essentially a sweetened orange blossom perfume, and the sweetness comes from vanilla in the base. I found this perfume to be kind of similar to Love Don't Be Shy and Sintra, but Esther did not get that comparison at all, and she really leans into the orange blossom and the petitgrain in this perfume. So I want to give this perfume another try and see what I get from it with Esther's impressions in mind. And I'm really excited to do that. It's something I absolutely love doing with perfumes when I can. I try to smell them through someone else's nose or someone else's impressions and see what I get. So next up is Melilot from L'Occitane. Oh my gosh, do I love this perfume. I blind bought this fragrance simply because it has carrot seed, and if you've been watching my channel, you know that I love carrot seed in a perfume. Galbanum, another note that I adore, and bran, and I love a carby perfume. So I thought it sounded so interesting. I went for it, and I was not disappointed. This is definitely one of those nutty, rooty, carby perfumes. It's earthy in a way that doesn't lean like soil-heavy geosmin, but this is earthy in a gentle field of wheat kind of way. Now, what I was not expecting in this perfume is this beautiful, dewy green aspect that the clover adds to the composition. And I love the delicious wheat bran and the nutty aspects of this perfume so much, but honestly, I think the most beautiful thing about this perfume is the sweet clover. And I guess the actual name of the perfume should have tipped me off because Melilot is a type of sweet clover, but I was so focused on that bran note and the carrot seed note to even realize that the clover would be the star of the show. And if you have ever walked through a field or even like a lawn with a lot of wild clover growing in it, like early in the morning or after the rain, that is exactly what this perfume smells like through a lot of the wear. It is perfectly balanced with the warmer, the earthier aspects of this perfume, and it's also balanced really nicely with the drier aspects of this perfume. It has vetiver and hay, and everything just works together so beautifully. And I don't know, I just think this is such a special and unique scent. It is not like anything else I have in my collection. And I really love when I find a perfume that just does not even compare to anything else I've ever smelled before. This is one of my favorite blind buys. Zero regrets with this bottle of Melilot. So next is a perfume that I talked about as one of my favorite spring scents, and that is Lost in the City from Miller Harris. So this perfume is perfectly named because it really does smell like a fresh green oasis in like a big bustling city. So this is a rose geranium centric perfume, two very complementary notes that you often see together. But I think that there are two things that set this perfume apart from other rose geraniums. One is the rhubarb note. The rhubarb brings like this tartness to the perfume that is delightful. So when it comes to rhubarb in a perfume, rhubarb can go two ways for me. One, it can smell a little bit like weed. And I don't know what the similarities are in the chemical compositions between like rhubarb and cannabis, but there must be something to it because rhubarb definitely goes like a little skunky for me sometimes. Like recently, I smelled the new Prada infusion to rhubarb, and while it didn't go all the way there, the rhubarb was like just sitting on the border of cannabis. And alternatively, rhubarb can be like way too tart for me. It can be like mouth puckeringly tart, like a Sour Patch Kid candy. That level of tartness for me can be a bit much. Like on the Likert scale of tartness, I like my tart to be more in the category of like grapefruit or blood orange over scents or flavors that are like much more tart or much less tart. To me, that's like Goldilocks level tart. It's the perfect amount of tart. And in this perfume, the rhubarb is like Goldilocks level. It's not too sweet. It's not too mouth puckering. It's just right. And the second thing that sets this perfume apart from other rose geraniums, it's the Earl Grey tea note. The Earl Grey tea in this perfume is absolutely perfect, and I love it. It gives London fog kind of vibes. It's kind of hazy in a way. It's almost like the steam in a cup of Earl Grey tea that's been cooled by the air. And I think Lost in the City is a really wonderful perfume, and I'm super excited to wear it this week. So next up, I am pulling out of my cabinet Spring Dance from Jusbox. This was a gift from my friend Aiden. He knows how much I love green scents. I am so grateful that he shared this perfume with me because I really love it. So on first sniff of this perfume, I was totally convinced that this was a neroli perfume. All I got was neroli. And maybe there is neroli in this perfume and it's just not on the note list because this perfume has a lot of that greenness that neroli has to offer to a composition. But after wearing this a couple of times, I think that what's giving me those like neroli feels is the grapefruit and the honeysuckle. I think they're kind of like mimicking neroli together in my mind. And I have not worn this again since the weather has turned. And now I'm really looking forward to it because I think I am going to love wearing this when I'm outside and there's a nice breeze in the air. So like every night, my husband and I go for a really long walk. And I already know that this week, this is what I'm going to wear on our walks. To me, there is nothing like the scent of honeysuckle in the air, whether it's coming from a honeysuckle flower or a honeysuckle perfume. I love the smell of honeysuckle, especially when it's super green and super fresh like it is in this perfume. It just makes me feel great. It makes me feel bright and peppy and lively. It puts a bounce in my step, which is perfect for a nice long walk. And so Spring Dance will be worn for sure this week. So the next perfume on the tray is the one that is the most exciting for me. This is Stella Pop, and it is one of the perfumes that Cass from Skin Scents for Fusspots brought to me when we met up in London recently. So thank you, Cass. I love this. I about jumped out of my skin over this one because it's really hard to find in the US. She was kind enough to pass this along to me, and I was so grateful. She also, when we met up, brought her original bottle of Stella for me to have a sniff of, which was a real treat because that is like a veritable unicorn around here now. And I understand why. It is just a beautiful rose perfume, and I'm so glad I had the chance to smell it. So Stella Pop is essentially a really fun, really pretty, really pink doll head perfume. And Parfumo only lists sandalwood and tuberose as the notes, but that is definitely not accurate. So retail shops list tomato leaf, violet leaf, mandarin, violet, tuberose, and frangipani, and then sandalwood, cedar, and musk. And I think that's more like it because the violet and the mandarin are really prominent in this perfume, and they go beautifully with that tuberose and sandalwood. And I think that's where the doll head kind of feeling is coming from, all of those notes sort of blending together. The tomato leaf in this is really subtle, it's really gentle, but it's definitely there. It just adds a little teeny tiny bit of greenness to the perfume that is so wonderful. This is such a great perfume. I wore this immediately after Cass gave it to me, and I was wearing a turtleneck sweater, and I could not stop pulling the turtleneck up over my nose to sniff it. And thank you again, Cassandra. I love my bottle of Stella Pop. So the last two perfumes on my tray this week are travel sizes. First, we have this Traveler of Rose Geranium from Darren Allen. I'm on a little bit of a Rose Geranium kick right now. And I had mentioned in a previous video that Darren offers this awesome subscription service where you can get like a 10 ml of his perfumes each month for $25. I subscribed for maybe like around 8 months, and it was such a great way to experience his perfumes and get to know his style and get like a little surprise sent in the mail every month. And Darren is a super creative, independent artisan perfumer. His style is very vintage inspired. In fact, his latest creation I'm super excited about, it's called Lipstick Queen. I really want to get a travel size of that because I know I'm going to love it. I love Darren and I love cosmetic-y, vintage inspired scents. So I'm sure he has done a beautiful job with a perfume called Lipstick Queen. But Rose Geranium, this is exactly what it sounds like. It is a very classic rose geranium. It's very natural smelling. And Darren has added some aniseed and some clove to this traditional scent profile that gives it some depth and some warmth. There's some really nice fluffy hawthorn in this. And then in the base, there's just an ever so slight growl of synthetic civet. And I don't even really need to say that it's synthetic civet because you really do not see perfumers using real civet much anymore, which I think is a good thing. I have smelled synthetic civet, and of course, as a vintage lover, I have plenty of older perfumes that most likely have real civet in them from like the before times. And having compared real civet and synthetic civet in perfumes, I can say, we do not need to be torturing animals to replicate the stuff that comes out of their glands. And the same is true of deer musk. Ambergris is kind of like a different story altogether. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that sometime, about like animalistic notes in perfumes. But there are lots and lots of ways to mimic naturals with synthetic ingredients that are both safe and sustainable and also very high quality. And like the idea that naturals are somehow safer or cleaner and preferred, that's really like a myth in perfumery, and synthetics are just fine. I have actually made accords of my own. Like I made a jasmine accord once completely from synthetic materials, and it was absolutely beautiful. It smelled just like real jasmine. And to make it, I did not have to rely on like questionable labor practices or certain crop conditions to create this beautiful jasmine accord. But anyway, going back to Rose Geranium, it's beautiful. Darren is an artist, and I can't wait to wear this week. And finally on the tray this week is good old Flowerbomb. I'm sure that I shouldn't say I'm sure. Maybe this perfume has fallen a little bit out of fashion at this point, but I don't really care because I still love Flowerbomb. It reminds me of one of my good friends. This was her signature scent. I love the way it smells on her, and it just makes me happy. I have 2 little travel sizes. This one, I bought it for myself, and I bought one for my mom a bunch of years ago. My mom absolutely hated this perfume, so she gave it back to me, and I was like, okay, cool, now I have 2. And this amount has been plenty for me. I only need to wear a little tiny bit of this. It's a very strong perfume. So I have this much and still another one this size that's full to the top left. And I just like to reach for this now and then when I'm in the mood. And right now I am in the mood for some Flowerbomb. And I cannot believe that it has been around for more than 20 years at this point. That seems so weird and wild to me. Like, by definition, that would basically make this a vintage perfume now. And it's so funny because I remember when like the perfumes that I wore in the 80s turned like 20 plus years old, and they definitely started smelling dated to me at that point. But I don't think that Flowerbomb smells dated yet at all. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm like, why is that? Why did the perfumes that I wore in the 80s feel dated in 2000? But Flowerbomb that came out in like what, 2004 or something, doesn't feel dated at all. And I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, for me, high school, I loved high school. And so those 4 years felt like an eternity. They felt like a very long period of time in my life. But then 4 years of adulthood flies by in like a blink of an eye. And so 20 years of perfumery from like 1980 to 2000 to me feels like so much happened in perfumery. But then from 2000 to 2020, it doesn't feel like much has changed at all. And I think that's just my age showing. It's just my own personal lens on the world. Like, I bet if you asked someone who was a teenager in 2000, maybe they would feel about perfumes from 2000 to now the same exact way that I do about perfumes from 1980 to 2000. I don't know. Life is weird. The older I get, I think the more I appreciate actually all of the generations and the perspectives that we bring to perfume enthusiasm in particular, and all of the things that we can learn from each other. And I'm just kind of rambling right now because probably everybody at this point knows what Flowerbomb smells like. So I will just end this part of the video by saying that I will wear Flowerbomb this week very, very happily. I will think about my friend who wears this so beautifully. And I will very much appreciate that I have been able to look back on over 50 years of perfumery and think about all the amazing things I've smelled over the years. Okay, so I have one more thing to show you before I wrap up. And this is this little bottle of Opium dusting powder that my mom found last week and gave to me. So you know that at holiday time, a lot of designer brands will come out with like packages of a perfume with like a shower gel and a lotion. And in the 70s and 80s, dusting powders were really popular in these like little perfume gift kits or gift collections. And so this probably came from a gift, like a gift kit of Opium that was maybe like a perfume, a lotion, maybe a shower gel, and this dusting powder. And I still have the lotion. I wouldn't dare wear it anymore because it's clearly gone bad. But the dusting powder actually smells amazing. And I can't believe that this just kind of like appeared out of nowhere. My mom and I had gone through like all of our old things that she had saved to see if there were any like empty bottles or even not so empty bottles of perfumes we used to share together in the 70s and 80s. And I thought that we had found just about everything we had left, but ta-da, this little container of Opium dusting powder just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and I'm super happy about it. So I just wanted to show this to you because I think the canister is really beautiful, and it's a great memory of the little perfume gifts that we used to give each other, my mom and I, in the 70s and 80s when we were perfume sharing together. So kind of a nice little special thing to add back into my collection. Okay, so there we have it, my tray for the upcoming week. A mix of affordable, designer, niche, vintage, I guess vintage, and independent artisan perfumes. I really hope everyone is doing well. I am so appreciative to you for watching and for chatting perfumes with me in the comments. I hope you all have a really great week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.